There's a quiet truth most people never stop to realize. Your life doesn't change when the world changes. It changes when you do. The thoughts you repeat, the emotions you feed, the habits you follow every day. They become the blueprint of your reality. You're not just living your life, you're living your patterns. And until those patterns shift, nothing else really will. This audiobook isn't about massive overnight transformations. It's about small, powerful shifts, the kind that reprogram how you think, reshape how you feel, and realign how you live. Because change doesn't start with action. It starts with awareness. Before you can change what you do, you have to understand why you do it. Before you can create new habits, you have to break free from the mental loops that hold you hostage. That's what these 10 habits are designed to do, to help you rewire your mindset from the inside out. Think about this. Every single day, your brain is sculpting itself. Every thought, every emotion, every reaction, they're all strengthening neural connections. You're literally training your mind to think a certain way. So when you dwell on fear, you reinforce fear. When you practice gratitude, you strengthen peace. When you focus on what's missing, you multiply scarcity. When you focus on what's possible, you expand abundance. Your mind is always learning. The question is, what are you teaching it? Here's what most people don't realize. Your mindset isn't fixed. It's fluid. It's moldable. It's constantly being shaped by what you focus on. If you can learn to shape it intentionally, if you can train your thoughts like a muscle, then you can transform the way you see, respond, and live. That's what this audiobook is for. To give you 10 simple, powerful habits that shift your internal dialogue, reframe your perspective, and strengthen the kind of mindset that wins quietly. The truth is, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. If your habits are disorganized, your life will always feel out of balance. If your habits are built on fear, you'll keep finding reasons to hold back. But if your habits are intentional, if they're rooted in clarity, patience, and peace, you begin to move differently. You stop reacting. You start responding. You stop surviving. You start growing. That's the shift these 10 habits are about. Before we begin, I want you to let go of one belief. The belief that change must be dramatic to be meaningful. Real change is slow. It's quiet. It's unglamorous. It happens on the days when no one notices. It happens when you do the same small thing again and again until your mind forgets the old way of being. That's how rewiring works. Not by force, but by repetition. You don't need to fix your whole life today. You just need to start building habits that do it for you over time. These 10 habits are not theories. They're practices. They're the kind of habits that don't just motivate you for a moment. They transform your foundation. They teach you how to calm your thoughts, focus your energy, and build confidence that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. Because mindset isn't about being positive all the time. It's about being aware all the time. It's about catching yourself before you spiral. It's about shifting your energy before negativity spreads. It's about responding to life with intention instead of reacting to it in survival. That's mindset mastery. Not perfection, but awareness and adjustment. And here's something beautiful. Once you start to rewire your mindset, the world doesn't necessarily change. But how you see it does. What used to feel like obstacles starts to feel like lessons. What used to drain you starts to teach you. What used to scare you starts to strengthen you. That's when you realize that life was never working against you. It was waiting for you to wake up and work with it. These 10 habits are your wake-up call. They're not grand or complicated. They're quiet. They're practical. They're repeatable. But they will challenge you because they'll ask you to be consistent, to be honest, to take ownership of your thoughts, even when it's uncomfortable. And that's the kind of change that lasts. So as you listen, don't just hear these words. Practice them. Try one habit a day. Then repeat. Then repeat again. Because repetition is how you rewire. Consistency is how you transform. And soon, you'll notice something shift. Not in the world, but in you. Your reactions will soften, your patience will grow, your clarity will deepen. You'll stop waiting for peace and start creating it. Remember, habits aren't about control. They're about freedom. They free you from overthinking, from doubt, from chaos. They give you structure so your mind can rest. They give you rhythm so your life can flow. They give you stability so your energy can be spent on what truly matters. That's what these 10 habits will help you build: a stable mind, a peaceful heart, and a focused life. This isn't just another self-help audiobook. This is a reprogramming session for your mind. And by the end of it, you won't just think differently, you'll live differently. Because once you learn to control your inner world, your outer world starts to follow. So take a deep breath. Let go of who you think you have to be, and get ready to meet the version of yourself that's been waiting for you to slow down, reflect, and rewire. Your mind is powerful. Now, it's time to teach it how to work for you, not against you. Chapter 1: The Habit of Awareness, Catching Your Thoughts Before They Control You. Change doesn't begin with what you do. It begins with what you notice. Before you can shift your behavior, you must first see it. Before you can rewire your thoughts, you must learn to catch them in the act. That's where awareness comes in, the first and most important habit of all, because you can't change what you don't understand. And you can't understand what you don't pay attention to. Most people live on autopilot. They wake up, scroll, react, and repeat, never stopping to ask why they feel what they feel or why they think what they think. They assume their thoughts are truth. They assume their emotions are facts. They assume every voice in their head is worth listening to. But it's not. Your mind has layers. It has the quiet voice of reason and the loud voice of fear. It has the steady rhythm of intuition and the chaotic noise of insecurity. Awareness is learning to tell the difference. Here's the truth. Your thoughts are not always right. They are reflections of what you've experienced, what you've feared, and what you've been taught, not necessarily what's real. So when your mind says, "I'm not good enough," it's not a fact, it's a memory. When your mind says, "This will never work," it's not prophecy, it's protection. Your brain's job is to keep you safe, not to make you happy. It will do whatever it takes to keep you inside your comfort zone, even if that means convincing you that growth is danger. Awareness breaks that loop. It gives you space between what happens and how you respond. That space is freedom. The habit of awareness isn't complicated. It's simply this: pause before you react. Pause before you speak, before you assume, before you spiral, before you decide what something means. That one small pause is powerful. It's the moment your conscious mind steps in and says, "Wait, let me see this clearly," because most of your suffering doesn't come from life itself. It comes from how you interpret it. Awareness helps you interpret it differently. Let's take a simple example. Someone criticizes you. Your old pattern reacts instantly. You feel attacked, you defend yourself, you replay it all night. But with awareness, you pause. You notice your heart speeding up. You notice the story your mind is building. They don't respect me. I'm not good enough. And you realize that story isn't truth. It's fear, it's memory, it's ego trying to protect itself. Once you see that, you no longer have to obey it. That's what awareness gives you, the power to choose your next thought. Awareness isn't about controlling your thoughts. It's about witnessing them without judgment. You don't need to fight them. You don't need to silence them. You just need to see them for what they are: temporary, transient, and often exaggerated. Your thoughts are like clouds. They drift in, they change shape, and they eventually pass. You are not the cloud. You are the sky. The more you practice awareness, the more you'll notice patterns. You'll start to see which thoughts appear when you're stressed, which emotions repeat when you're tired, which situations trigger your worst reactions. And once you see those patterns clearly, you begin to take your power back. You stop being controlled by your emotions and start managing them with wisdom. That's what rewiring your mindset truly means. Not deleting your emotions, but decoding them. Let's turn this into a daily practice. Each day, spend a few minutes just observing your thoughts. No judgment, no fixing, just noticing. You might realize your mind constantly worries about the future. Or maybe it replays the past. Maybe it compares you to others. Maybe it focuses on what's missing instead of what's here. Whatever you find, just notice it. Because the moment you become the observer, you stop being the prisoner. Awareness is like turning on a light in a dark room. The objects were always there. You just couldn't see them. Once the light's on, you don't stumble anymore. You don't walk into walls. You stop confusing shadows for monsters. That's what awareness does for the mind. It helps you see clearly so you can move calmly. Sometimes you'll notice thoughts that hurt. That's okay. Awareness doesn't erase pain. It reveals it. And what you reveal, you can heal. Every time you catch a negative thought and question it instead of believing it, you're rewiring your brain. You're teaching your mind, I'm in control now. That's how healing begins, not by pretending you're fine, but by understanding why you're not. And here's the beauty of it. As you become more aware, your energy changes. You become slower to react, quicker to understand. You stop rushing through conversations. You start listening. You start choosing peace over pride. People will notice it. They'll say you seem calmer, lighter, more grounded. That's not luck. That's awareness. That's years of unconscious thinking finally quieting down. If you only master one habit from this entire audiobook, let it be this one. Because awareness is the foundation of every other habit. You can't be grateful without awareness. You can't be disciplined without awareness. You can't be present, peaceful, or purposeful without it. Awareness is the beginning of change. It's the first key to freedom. So start today. Catch one thought before it catches you. Notice one emotion before it pulls you under. Pause once before reacting. That's all it takes. That's the first step in rewiring your mindset. Every moment you choose awareness over autopilot, you're training your brain to think differently. To see the world not through fear, but through clarity. And clarity is power. So as you move into the next chapter, carry this with you. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who chooses which thoughts to believe. That's the habit of awareness, the foundation of every mindset shift you'll ever make. Chapter 2. The Habit of Gratitude. Training your mind to focus on what's right. Gratitude is not a reaction. It's a decision. It's a conscious choice to shift your focus from what's missing to what's already here. And when practiced daily, it doesn't just make you feel better, it changes how your mind works. Because your brain can't hold two major focuses at once. You can't be grateful and resentful at the same time. You can't appreciate and complain simultaneously. You can't see blessings and still feel lack. Not when gratitude becomes your lens. That's what makes this habit so powerful. Most people think gratitude is something that happens after life goes well. You get good news, you feel thankful. You get what you want. You express appreciation. But true gratitude doesn't wait for perfect moments. It creates them. It's not something that appears once life improves. It's what improves life. Here's the truth. Your mind has a bias. It's wired to notice what's wrong. This is a survival instinct, not a flaw. For thousands of years, noticing danger kept us alive. But now that same wiring makes us anxious. It makes us zoom in on everything we lack, everything that could go wrong, everything that's not enough. That's why gratitude is a habit, because it doesn't come naturally. You have to train your mind to notice the light instead of the shadows, and the more you practice it, the more your brain begins to rewire. Here's what happens when you build the habit of gratitude. You stop seeing your day as a checklist and start seeing it as a gift. You stop focusing on who hurt you and start noticing who stayed. You stop wishing life looked different and start finding beauty in the version you already have. That shift from what's missing to what's present is where peace begins. Gratitude doesn't ignore pain. It doesn't deny disappointment. It simply says, yes, this hurts, but there's still something here to hold on to. That's the difference between toxic positivity and real gratitude. Toxic positivity says, everything's fine, don't feel sad. Real gratitude says, even while I'm sad, I can still be thankful for what remains. Gratitude doesn't erase the storm. It gives you shelter within it. Let's make it practical. Each morning, before your day begins, write down 3 things you're grateful for. Don't overthink it. It could be your morning coffee, a message from someone you love, the sound of rain, the fact that you made it to another day. The point isn't to find big things. It's to train your brain to find anything. Because once your brain starts scanning for positives, it will begin noticing more of them automatically. That's how neural rewiring works. What you look for expands. At first, this habit might feel simple, even silly, but give it time. Within weeks, you'll begin noticing a shift. The things that used to bother you won't hit as hard. Your stress will soften. Your patience will grow. Because when you're grateful, you stop reacting from scarcity. You start responding from abundance. You begin to realize that even on hard days, you have something others are praying for. That's not guilt, that's grounding. There's something else gratitude does that's often overlooked. It heals comparison. You can't be truly grateful for your life and jealous of someone else's at the same time. Gratitude neutralizes envy. It brings your focus back home. It reminds you that peace doesn't come from having more. It comes from noticing what you already have enough of. When you stop comparing, you stop competing. And when you stop competing, you start connecting with yourself, with others, with life. But remember, gratitude isn't a mood. It's a muscle. Some days it will be easy to find things to be thankful for. Other days it'll feel impossible. But those are the days it matters most. When life feels heavy and you still whisper, "Thank you." That's when your brain truly rewires. That's when your heart learns resilience. You start realizing gratitude isn't about being happy. It's about being aware. Try this simple exercise at night. Before you go to sleep, think of one thing that went right today. Just one. Maybe it was a small smile from a stranger, a meal you enjoyed, a moment you didn't quit. Hold that thought for a few seconds. Let your body feel it. You're not just recalling the memory. You're programming your nervous system to rest in appreciation instead of stress. You're teaching your brain that even in the middle of chaos, there's calm available. That's what makes gratitude not just emotional, but neurological. Gratitude rewires how your mind interprets life. Without it, you see problems first, solutions second. With it, you start seeing lessons first and problems as temporary teachers. It doesn't make life perfect. It makes life clearer, and clarity always leads to peace. There's one more thing you'll notice as this habit grows. The more grateful you are, the more life gives you to be grateful for. Not because magic happens, but because your awareness expands. You begin to see opportunities where before you only saw obstacles. You begin to see people's kindness instead of their flaws. You begin to see your own strength instead of your limits. Gratitude doesn't change your life instantly. It changes the way you experience it permanently. Here's something to remember. Gratitude and growth are connected. The moment you start appreciating your current season, you stop rushing toward the next one. You stop trying to escape the present. You start finding lessons inside it, and ironically, that's when growth speeds up, because you're no longer running away from what life is teaching you. Gratitude slows you down just enough to let the universe catch up with your readiness. So practice it daily, not once in a while, not just when things are going your way, but especially when they aren't. Because that's when gratitude becomes wisdom, not comfort. You'll know you've mastered this habit when you can say thank you for the things that didn't work out, for the endings that brought peace, for the detours that redirected you, for the waiting that taught patience. That's real gratitude. That's the kind that rewires your entire mindset. So as you move forward, carry this with you. Your peace doesn't depend on perfect circumstances. It depends on practiced gratitude. Every time you pause and say thank you, you remind your mind that life is still good, even when it's not easy, and that reminder changes everything. Chapter 3. The Habit of Discipline. Doing what's necessary, not just what's easy. There will always be two versions of you, one that wants comfort and one that wants growth. Every day they compete for control, and whoever you feed wins. That's where discipline comes in, not as punishment, but as a form of alignment. A daily reminder that the person you want to be requires choices that the person you are might resist. Most people think discipline is about control. It's not. It's about commitment. It's about showing up for yourself, especially when the excitement disappears, because anyone can act when they feel inspired. The question is, can you act when you don't? That's what separates people who dream from people who do. Discipline isn't about energy. It's about integrity. It's keeping the promise you made to yourself long after the mood you made it in has faded. Here's the truth. Motivation will abandon you. Every single time. It's not designed to last. It's designed to start. It's the spark. Discipline is the firewood. Without discipline, motivation burns out and leaves you cold. With discipline, you keep the flame alive, even when the world feels dark. Think of discipline as a quiet conversation between you and your future. Every time you act with discipline, you're telling your future self, "I won't let you down." And every time you break that promise, you're teaching yourself that your word doesn't matter. Discipline isn't about rules. It's about self-trust. And once you trust yourself, you become unstoppable. But here's what no one tells you. Discipline will often feel boring. It's not glamorous. It's not cinematic. It's not a motivational high. It's repetition. It's doing the same thing day after day without applause, without reward, without validation. It's quiet work, lonely work. But it's the kind of work that builds character in silence and confidence over time. Think of the moments you've succeeded before. You didn't get there because you felt amazing every day. You got there because you did what needed to be done, even when it wasn't easy. That's the pattern of every achiever, every artist, every athlete, every person who turned potential into reality. They learned that discipline isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's falling and standing up anyway. It's failing and trying again anyway. It's being tired, but finishing what you started anyway. That's discipline. When you make discipline a habit, you stop depending on emotion. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop negotiating with procrastination. You stop asking, "Do I want to?" and start saying, "It's time to." Because discipline is never about how you feel. It's about what you've decided. And every time you follow through, you strengthen your identity as someone who does the work. That identity changes everything. Here's something powerful to remember. Discipline isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the important things consistently. You don't need to fill every minute with effort. You just need to protect the minutes that matter. Start small. 5 minutes of focus, 10 minutes of reading, a few moments of meditation. Do it every day until it becomes second nature. Because small disciplines, done daily, build massive transformation over time. That's the quiet truth of growth. It doesn't happen all at once. It compounds. Sometimes discipline will feel like resistance. Your mind will scream for comfort. Your emotions will beg for a break. Your excuses will sound logical. That's normal. Discipline isn't the absence of resistance. It's the decision to move through it. And the more often you push through, the less power that resistance holds. You begin to trust that temporary discomfort always leads to long-term strength. Here's a mindset shift that will help. Stop seeing discipline as restriction. Start seeing it as protection. Discipline protects your peace from impulsive decisions. It protects your time from distractions. It protects your potential from your excuses. It's not limiting you. It's freeing you from chaos. Because when your habits are structured, your mind can finally rest. You'll also learn that discipline and self-compassion go hand in hand. You can't shame yourself into consistency. You can't hate yourself into greatness. You have to encourage yourself through discipline, not punish yourself with it. Discipline says, "I care enough about my future to act with respect for it." It's love in structure form. It's care turned into daily rhythm. When you understand that, you stop resenting the effort. You start honoring it. Here's how to make discipline stick. Start small. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for consistency. A 5-minute commitment is better than none. Attach it to something you already do. Stack habits. For example, after your morning coffee, spend 10 minutes reading. After brushing your teeth, write one sentence of reflection. Measure your effort, not just your outcome. Discipline isn't about doing it perfectly. It's about doing it again. Remove choice where choice creates chaos. Don't wake up and decide if you'll do it. Decide the night before. Discipline thrives in structure. Give it one. Over time, something changes. The thing that used to drain you becomes automatic. The action that once felt like effort becomes identity. You stop saying, "I have to." You start saying, "This is who I am." That's the secret no one tells you. Discipline is freedom disguised as effort. The more you practice it, the more effortless life becomes. And here's the best part. Discipline isn't just about productivity. It's about peace. When you live with discipline, you remove mental clutter. You stop overthinking. You stop scrambling. You stop doubting. You just do. And that clarity feels like freedom, because now you trust yourself again. You know you'll follow through. You know you'll keep your promises. You know you can depend on you. That's confidence at its core. Not arrogance, not ego. Just reliability with yourself. So remember this. Discipline isn't a trait you're born with. It's a skill you build. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep showing up, one small action at a time until it becomes who you are. Do it tired. Do it unsure. Do it imperfectly, but do it, because every disciplined act is proof that your future is worth the effort. That's the habit of discipline. Doing what's necessary, not just what's easy. Not because it's comfortable, but because it's right. Because every small decision you make in discipline is another brick in the foundation of your best self. And one day, you'll look back and realize that the structure you were building all along wasn't just your routine, it was your peace. Chapter 4. The Habit of Reflection. Learning to pause before you react. In every moment of chaos, there's a hidden space, a pause. It's small, it's quiet, but it's powerful enough to change everything that happens next. That pause is where reflection lives. It's where wisdom begins. It's the gap between what happens to you and how you choose to respond. And that choice, that single moment of awareness, can completely reshape the course of your day, your relationships, your peace. We live in a world that glorifies reaction. Someone says something, you respond instantly. A notification appears, you check it without thinking. Something goes wrong, you panic, complain, or fix it immediately. But reflection is the opposite of reaction. It's the discipline of slowing down long enough to ask deeper questions. What is this moment teaching me? Why am I feeling this way? Does this deserve my energy or just my awareness? Reflection isn't laziness. It's emotional intelligence in motion. It's the difference between being triggered and being thoughtful. Here's the truth. Every reaction comes from somewhere. Behind every outburst is a pattern. Behind every rush to fix things is fear. Behind every defensiveness is an old wound asking to be seen. Reflection helps you see those roots. It allows you to understand not just what you feel, but why you feel it. And once you understand the why, you gain the power to change it. That's how you begin rewiring your mindset, by replacing automatic reaction with conscious reflection. The habit of reflection begins with one simple word. Pause. Pause before you answer. Pause before you judge. Pause before you post, reply, or assume. That small moment of stillness creates space for clarity to enter. It reminds you that you don't have to live life as a series of reflexes. You can live it as a series of choices. Reflection transforms your emotional reflexes into emotional responses. Think about this. When someone criticizes you, what's your first reaction? To defend, to explain, to attack back? But what if you paused just for a moment and asked, why does this bother me? You might realize it's not about the person. It's about an old insecurity, a need to be understood, a desire to be right, and suddenly, what could have turned into conflict becomes a moment of insight. That's reflection, the art of stepping back from the moment so you can see it more clearly. Reflection, also teaches you patience because when you slow down long enough to process life, you begin to see that not every problem needs to be solved immediately. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every challenge is an attack. Sometimes it's just life unfolding. Sometimes it's just a moment passing through. And the moment you stop reacting to everything, you regain control of your peace. Reflection doesn't mean overthinking. It's not about replaying every detail of the past or analyzing every emotion you have. Overthinking is driven by fear. Reflection is guided by curiosity. Overthinking keeps you stuck. Reflection helps you move forward. The difference is purpose. Reflection asks questions that lead to peace. Overthinking asks questions that lead to panic. When you learn that difference, your mind becomes your ally, not your enemy. Here's how to practice the habit of reflection. End your day with stillness. Spend 5 minutes in silence. Ask yourself, what happened today that taught me something? Don't judge your answers. Just listen. Keep a reflection journal. Write one sentence each day about a moment that made you feel something, good or bad. Over time, you'll start to see patterns. You'll begin to understand how your emotions move. Pause before reacting. When something upsets you, count to 5. Take a breath. Respond only after you've asked, what's my intention behind this? These small actions strengthen the muscle of awareness and turn reflection into a daily rhythm. Reflection also deepens empathy. When you pause to understand your own reactions, you naturally become more patient with others. You realize everyone's behavior is shaped by their story, just like yours is. You stop taking things so personally. You start seeing through the lens of understanding instead of ego. And that shift can turn arguments into conversations, conflicts into clarity, and pain into perspective. That's the quiet gift of reflection. It softens judgment and strengthens compassion. When you build the habit of reflection, you start noticing how many of your urgent problems are really just emotional noise. You stop letting small inconveniences ruin your peace. You stop letting temporary moods define permanent choices. Reflection teaches you emotional separation, the ability to feel something deeply without letting it dictate your behavior. That's power. That's maturity. That's growth. And here's something beautiful about reflection. The more you practice it, the less you regret. Because regret usually comes from reacting too fast, from saying words that didn't need to be said, from making choices in the heat of emotion. Reflection builds a buffer between you and regret. It helps you act from wisdom, not impulse. That's what inner peace really is, the ability to be slow in a world that's fast. It's okay if reflection feels uncomfortable at first. It will, because slowing down means you'll start seeing things you've been too busy to notice. Old patterns, hidden fears, unhealed parts of yourself, don't run from them. They're not here to punish you. They're here to guide you. Every insight you gain through reflection is a message from your inner world, showing you where growth still wants to happen. Listen. Be curious. Be kind. That's how transformation begins. The habit of reflection will make you quieter, not because you have less to say, but because you start speaking with purpose. You'll think before you react. You'll respond with clarity. You'll move with intention. And when people ask, "Why are you so calm lately?" you'll smile and know. It's because you've learned how to pause. So remember, reflection isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the stillness that lets your mind catch up to your heart. It's the silence that helps you hear your own truth again. It's the pause that turns chaos into understanding. And once you master this habit, you stop living on reaction. You start living on intention. So tonight, before you sleep, take a moment. Ask yourself one question. What did today teach me? Not in a critical way, but in a curious one. Then listen. You'll be surprised by how much your life starts speaking back when you finally stop long enough to hear it. Chapter 5. The habit of letting go. Releasing what no longer serves you. Letting go isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's realizing that holding on doesn't heal. It only hurts longer. And yet, we cling. We hold on to people, to memories, to mistakes, to versions of ourselves that no longer fit who we are becoming. We do it because the familiar feels safe, even when it's painful. But growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in release. That's why learning to let go is one of the most liberating habits you'll ever build. Most of us were never taught how to let go. We were taught how to work harder, try again, fix things, make them better, but no one taught us that some things aren't meant to be fixed, they're meant to be finished. That some chapters close not because we failed, but because we've learned what we were meant to learn. Letting go isn't giving up. It's growing up. It's choosing peace over persistence when persistence only leads to pain. The truth is, you can't move forward if your hands are full of what you're meant to release. You can't open new doors while clinging to the handle of an old one. Letting go is an act of trust. Trust that something new can grow in the space left behind, and that space is where healing begins. There are many forms of letting go. Sometimes it's letting go of people, not because you stopped caring, but because they stopped showing up. Sometimes it's letting go of guilt for things you did when you didn't know better. Sometimes it's letting go of expectations, the belief that life should look a certain way by now, and sometimes it's letting go of the version of you who only knew how to survive. Each one is a quiet form of courage, because letting go doesn't mean you don't care anymore. It means you're finally choosing yourself. The habit of letting go begins with honesty. Ask yourself, what am I still carrying that's weighing me down? Maybe it's a relationship that ended long ago but still lives in your thoughts. Maybe it's a dream that no longer excites you. Maybe it's resentment toward someone who hurt you. Whatever it is, name it. Because what you don't name, you can't release. Awareness opens the door. Acceptance walks you through it. Here's the hard truth. You can't heal in the same place that broke you if you refuse to leave it behind. Sometimes closure isn't given to you. It's something you decide for yourself. You stop waiting for the apology. You stop replaying the ending. You stop trying to understand why it had to happen that way. You accept that peace comes not from answers, but from surrender. That's when the weight finally lifts. Letting go isn't a single act. It's a daily choice, because memories linger. Emotions resurface. Attachments return, and every time they do, you get to decide again, do I want to relive this or release this? Choose release, even when it feels unnatural, even when your heart doesn't fully agree yet, because your heart will catch up to what your mind already knows. You deserve peace more than you deserve closure. One of the hardest things to let go of is control, the need to make life go according to plan, the obsession with certainty. But the truth is, control is an illusion. You can influence your effort, but not every outcome. You can prepare your path, but not predict its direction. When you learn to let go of control, you stop resisting life and start working with it. You begin to flow instead of forcing. That's where grace begins, in the surrender of what you can't change. Here's something most people never realize. Holding on takes energy. Letting go restores it. Every moment spent replaying the past is energy stolen from the present. Every grudge carried is space occupied by pain. You can't fill your life with new joy if you're still holding on to old hurt. So if it costs your peace, it's too expensive to keep. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering differently. It means seeing what happened as part of your story, not the definition of it. It means learning from the pain without living inside it. It means blessing what broke you, because it built you. And when you reach that place, you realize that letting go was never about loss. It was about making room. Letting go also applies to self-forgiveness. How long have you been punishing yourself for being human? How long have you been carrying guilt for not knowing what you know now? Forgiveness is not saying, yeah, it was okay. It's saying, it's over. It's acknowledging that you can't rewrite yesterday, but you can redeem tomorrow. That's what letting go of guilt feels like. Relief disguised as peace. Here's a practice to build this habit. Write down what you're holding on to. Be honest, no filter. Relationships, regrets, expectations, fears. Ask, what is this still teaching me? Every attachment once served a purpose. Find the lesson, then thank it for what it gave you. Release it. You can burn the paper, tear it, or simply say aloud, I release what no longer serves me. Do it gently. You're not erasing your story. You're rewriting how it lives inside you. Here's something to remember. Letting go often feels like falling at first. but it's actually flying. It's that brief, disorienting space between what was and what's next. It's scary because it's new, but new is where healing happens. You'll start noticing it in small ways. The song that used to hurt now feels neutral. The memory that once brought tears now brings peace. The name that once stung now just passes through your mind quietly. That's healing. That's freedom. That's growth. Letting go isn't forgetting who you were. It's honoring who you've become. It's saying, I no longer need to carry this to prove that it mattered. Because it did matter. It shaped you. It stretched you. It prepared you. But now you're ready for something new. And the only way to step into the next chapter is to stop rereading the last one. So remember this. You don't lose people, memories, or moments by letting go. You simply release their power over you. And in that release, you rediscover yourself, lighter, freer, and more present. Letting go is not the end. It's the beginning of peace. Chapter 6. The Habit of Consistency. Showing up, even when motivation fades. Consistency is not built in moments of excitement. It's built in moments of fatigue. It's not the fire at the beginning of your journey. It's the quiet endurance that keeps it alive long after the spark is gone. Because motivation gets you started, but consistency gets you results. Motivation is a feeling. Consistency is a decision. And once you learn the difference, you stop waiting for inspiration. You start creating progress. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. They chase intensity instead of stability. They start fast, burn bright, and disappear just as quickly. But consistency isn't about speed. It's about rhythm. It's about learning how to keep showing up at a sustainable pace. Because what you do occasionally won't change your life. What you do consistently will. Think about it. A single workout won't transform your body. One kind word won't change a relationship. One page won't make you wise. But do those things every day and they'll quietly rewire your entire reality. That's the power of small, repeated action. It doesn't shout. It whispers, but over time, its voice becomes the loudest one in your life. The habit of consistency begins with honesty. You can't stay consistent with things that don't align with who you are. You'll always burn out chasing goals that belong to someone else. But when your actions align with your values, consistency becomes natural. You stop forcing it. You start flowing with it. Because consistency isn't about discipline alone. It's about connection. When what you're doing matters to you, you'll find a way to keep doing it. Here's the truth. You won't always feel like it. You won't always feel strong. You won't always feel ready. But consistency isn't about feelings. It's about faith. It's about trusting that every small step adds up, even when the finish line feels far away. It's about believing that progress is happening quietly beneath the surface, even when you can't see it yet. Because growth is rarely visible while it's happening, but it's always happening. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. You'll miss days. You'll fall behind. You'll lose momentum. But missing one day doesn't ruin progress. Quitting does. Don't punish yourself for slipping. Return gently. Start again. Because consistency isn't about never stopping. It's about never staying stopped. Every restart strengthens your resilience. Every comeback reinforces your character. Every time you return, you prove to yourself that you're serious about change. That's what real consistency looks like. Let's make this habit practical. Start small. It's better to do one small thing daily than one big thing once in a while. Small actions build trust in your ability to follow through. Focus on the process, not the result. Don't chase outcomes. Master routines. The result will come naturally when the process becomes your habit. Track your streaks, not for perfection but for accountability. Seeing your progress builds momentum. Forgive yourself quickly. When you miss a step, don't spiral. Reset. Progress isn't ruined by imperfection. It's reinforced by persistence. Consistency requires patience. Because progress is rarely dramatic. It's subtle. It's quiet. It's slow, but slow doesn't mean stagnant. It means sustainable. Most people quit not because they can't succeed, but because they can't wait. They expect transformation to be loud and instant. But consistency teaches you that change is a slow burn, not a sudden spark. Here's a truth you'll learn along the way. Consistency builds confidence. Every day you follow through, you prove something powerful to yourself. I can trust me. That self-trust becomes your foundation. You stop needing validation from others. You stop chasing quick wins. You stop doubting your pace, because now you know you'll show up, no matter what, and that quiet certainty becomes your greatest strength. Consistency will also teach you to respect effort over emotion. There will be days when you feel unstoppable, and days when you barely make it through. Both count. Both matter. The small, tired days, the days you show up half-hearted but still show up, those are the days that define your transformation. Because greatness isn't built in moments of motivation, it's built in moments of resistance. When your body says rest and your mind says quit, but your soul whispers, just one more step, that's consistency. There's beauty in the boring. Because what feels repetitive today is what becomes effortless. Tomorrow, that's how habits work. You practice them long enough until they become identity. Eventually, it's no longer something you have to do. It's something you are. You'll know you've reached that point when skipping the habit feels uncomfortable, because keeping it brings peace. That's when you've rewired your mindset. Consistency also protects your emotional stability. When you have structure, you create safety. When your actions are predictable, your mind feels calm. It's not chaos that exhausts you, it's inconsistency. Every time you keep your word to yourself, you reduce anxiety. You replace uncertainty with rhythm. That rhythm becomes peace. Consistency is not about always being strong, it's about always returning. Return when it's easy. Return when it's hard. Return when no one notices. Return when no one claps. Because showing up for yourself when no one else expects it is one of the purest forms of self-respect. And when you make consistency a habit, you realize something powerful. The result was never the goal. The rhythm was. Because the rhythm keeps you grounded. It keeps you moving forward. It keeps you growing, quietly, steadily, faithfully. So remember this. The secret to success isn't intensity, it's repetition. Small efforts, done daily, outlast grand efforts done occasionally. You don't need to move fast. You just need to keep moving. Because consistency compounds. It multiplies quietly until one day you look back and realize how far you've come. So keep showing up. Not for the applause, not for the finish line, but for the person you're becoming in the process. Because consistency isn't a burden. It's a blessing. It's how you turn effort into identity and motion into mastery. That's the habit of consistency, the bridge between who you are and who you're meant to be. Chapter 7. The Habit of Positive Speech. Reprogramming your self-talk. The words you speak don't just describe your world, they design it. Every sentence you whisper, every thought you repeat, every name you give to yourself, they all become blueprints for the life you build. Because language isn't just communication, it's creation. And when you start speaking differently, you start thinking differently. And when you think differently, you start living differently. That's the power of your words. They are either weapons or medicine. Most people don't realize how often they speak against themselves. I can't do this. I'm not enough. I always mess things up. I'll never change. Each time you say these words, you're reinforcing a belief. You're feeding your mind instructions, and your brain listens. Your subconscious doesn't know sarcasm or exaggeration. It only knows repetition. Whatever you say often enough, it starts to believe. That's how self-doubt becomes identity. That's how negative self-talk becomes reality. But here's the good news. You can reprogram that voice. The habit of positive speech doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing language that strengthens, not weakens, your spirit. It means replacing "I can't" with "I'm learning how." It means replacing "I'm not good enough" with "I'm still growing." It means replacing "I failed" with "I tried, and I'll try again." These shifts seem small, but over time, they rewire your entire self-image. Because the words you speak become the thoughts you believe, and the thoughts you believe become the life you live, Think about the way you talk to yourself when no one's listening. Would you speak to someone you love that way? If not, then why do you deserve less kindness than a stranger? The world can be harsh. Your mind doesn't have to be. Self-talk is not just background noise. It's the soundtrack of your life. Make sure it's one that builds you up, not breaks you down. Here's the truth. The most dangerous conversations you'll ever have are the ones that happen silently in your head, because that voice decides how you feel, how you act, how you see yourself. If that voice is harsh, you'll live in fear. If that voice is patient, you'll live in peace. If that voice is encouraging, you'll start to believe you can handle anything. You don't need to silence the negative voice completely. You just need to make the positive one louder. The habit of positive speech begins with awareness. You can't change what you don't notice. So start listening to how you talk, especially when things go wrong. Do you criticize yourself immediately? Do you use absolutes like always and never? Do you label yourself instead of describing your actions? Instead of saying, "I'm so stupid," say, "I made a mistake and I'll fix it." Instead of saying, "I'll never be confident," say, "I'm learning how to trust myself." Because what you label, you limit, and what you describe, you can change. Words create identity. Every time you say, "I'm lazy," you strengthen that identity. Every time you say, "I'm disciplined," you strengthen that one instead. Your brain is listening for instructions. It's waiting for direction. So, give it better ones. Speak to yourself as if you already are the person you want to become. Because in time, you will be. Here's a practice that changes everything. When you catch yourself speaking negatively, pause. Don't judge it. Just reframe it. Turn every criticism into a commitment. "I'm not good at this" becomes, "I'm getting better every day." "I'm so behind" becomes, "I'm learning at my own pace." "I can't do this" becomes, "I'm figuring this out." Your brain doesn't need perfection. It needs repetition. Every time you reframe, you're literally reshaping the neural pathways that govern how you think and feel. That's what rewiring your mindset looks like in real time. Your voice has power, not just over you, but over others. When you speak encouragement, you become a mirror that reflects possibility. When you speak kindness, you soften the world around you. When you speak with faith, you remind others of their strength. Positive speech doesn't just lift your spirit, it lifts your environment. Because energy spreads through language, and the tone you use sets the tone for the room you're in. So speak in ways that light up others. And your light grows too. Let's make it practical. Morning reframe. Each morning, say out loud 3 sentences that begin with "I am." Keep them real but optimistic. I am learning. I am growing. I am becoming more patient. You're not lying to yourself. You're setting intention. Midday check-in. When something frustrates you, notice your self-talk. If it's harsh, pause. Replace it with something grounding. "I'm doing my best. This is temporary. I can handle this." Nightly reflection. Before bed, speak gratitude over your effort. "I showed up today. I kept going. I'm proud of myself for trying." Let that be the last voice your mind hears before sleep. At first, this habit will feel forced. You'll catch yourself slipping back into old phrases. That's normal. Be patient. Because positive speech is not about perfection. It's about awareness and adjustment. You're teaching your brain a new language, one built on kindness, accountability, and faith. It takes time, but with every gentle correction, you're rewriting the script of your inner world. The words you choose are seeds. Plant complaints, and you'll grow frustration. Plant gratitude, and you'll grow peace. Plant encouragement, and you'll grow courage. Your voice is the soil where your mindset grows. Be intentional about what you plant. And here's something powerful. The more positively you speak, the less you'll need external validation. Because when your inner voice becomes your biggest supporter, you no longer chase approval. You create your own peace. You start waking up lighter. You start trusting yourself more. You start believing in the life you're building, all because your words finally started working for you, not against you. So remember this. Words are free, but their impact is priceless. Speak with intention. Speak with kindness. Speak with courage, because every time you do, you're not just changing how you talk, you're changing how you live. That's the habit of positive speech, rewiring your inner dialogue so that your voice becomes your ally, not your enemy. Chapter 8. The Habit of Boundaries, Protecting Your Energy and Mental Space. Boundaries aren't walls. They're doors, with locks that you control. They don't isolate you from the world. They protect your peace within it, because your time, your focus, and your energy are sacred currencies. And if you don't guard them, someone else will spend them for you. For too long, you may have believed that saying yes makes you kind, and saying no makes you cold. But kindness without limits becomes exhaustion. Generosity without boundaries becomes resentment. Love without self-respect becomes self-loss. Setting boundaries isn't selfish. It's self-preservation. It's the moment you stop pouring from an empty cup and start refilling your own. The truth is, you can't live a peaceful life if you're constantly at war with your own needs. You can't heal in environments that drain you, and you can't grow if you're constantly shrinking yourself to fit into places that don't respect your worth. That's why boundaries are not just emotional tools. They're mental survival skills. They keep your mind clean, your focus sharp, and your energy aligned with your purpose. The habit of boundaries begins with awareness. Ask yourself, what is constantly stealing my peace? It might be people who demand more than they give. It might be your phone, constantly pulling you away from presence. It might even be your own inability to rest without feeling guilty. Boundaries begin when you identify what drains you. They strengthen when you decide to protect what fuels you. Many people struggle to set boundaries because they fear rejection. They worry that saying no will make them unkind, unloving, or unwanted. But the truth is, if someone's love depends on your exhaustion, it's not love. Healthy relationships don't collapse under boundaries. They respect them. The people who truly value you will never make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce. If you constantly say yes out of guilt, you train others to expect your time for free. If you apologize for having needs, you teach others to ignore them. And if you say nothing, your silence becomes permission. Boundaries are not built with anger. They're built with clarity. You don't have to explain or defend your peace. You just have to choose it. Think of your mind like a home. Not everyone deserves a key. Some people belong in the living room, temporary guests who bring value and respect. Some belong at the door, friendly acquaintances who wave from a distance. And some, no matter how much history they have with you, don't belong inside at all. Boundaries are how you decide who stays where. They're how you protect your home from the chaos that others carry, because not everyone's storm is yours to stand. In setting boundaries also means setting boundaries with yourself. The world isn't always your biggest distraction. Sometimes it's you, scrolling too long, overthinking, working without rest, saying yes to everything except your own well-being. Your mind needs structure. Your body needs rest. Your focus needs protection. You can't live with clarity if you don't know how to pause. And sometimes, the most powerful boundary you can create is saying enough to yourself. There's a gentle strength in learning to say no. No, I can't make it tonight. I need rest. No, I can't take on that task. My plate is full. No, I don't accept being spoken to that way. Each no you say is actually a yes to something better, your peace, your focus, your mental health, because every time you say yes to something draining, you're saying no to something healing. Boundaries are how you start saying yes to the right things again. Here's how to start practicing this habit. Define what peace feels like. You can't protect what you don't recognize. What environments, people, and habits bring you calm? That's where your boundaries begin. Communicate clearly, not defensively. Boundaries don't need long explanations. Simple, direct language is enough. I can't take calls after 9. I'm not discussing this topic anymore. That doesn't work for me. Clarity is kindness to yourself and others. Expect discomfort. Boundaries trigger guilt at first, especially if you're used to pleasing everyone. But discomfort doesn't mean you're wrong. It means you're growing. Reinforce them. Boundaries are not one-time announcements. They're consistent actions. Hold them gently but firmly. You don't need to convince others. You just need to stay consistent. When you start protecting your peace, you'll notice something. Your circle might shrink. Not everyone will understand your growth. Some will call it selfish. Some will distance themselves. That's okay. Boundaries reveal who's in your life for love and who's there for access. You'll learn that peace is better than popularity, and solitude is better than fake connection. You'll also find new people, those who respect space, honor time, and give what they take. Because healthy energy attracts healthy people. Setting boundaries isn't about control. It's about clarity, knowing where you end and the world begins. It's realizing that you're not responsible for fixing everything, pleasing everyone, or carrying every burden. You're responsible for protecting your peace so you can give from overflow, not emptiness. Boundaries create balance, and balance sustains growth. Eventually, boundaries stop feeling like walls. They start feeling like wings, because when you stop overextending yourself, you gain the energy to expand in new directions. You rediscover creativity. You find focus again. You feel safe being alone with your thoughts. And that's when the world starts to open back up. Not because you gave more, but because you learned how to protect what you already had. So remember this, boundaries are not a sign that you've hardened. They're proof that you've healed. They mean you finally understand that peace isn't found. It's created, and it's protected daily by the decisions you make, the limits you set, and the love you give yourself. First, because a peaceful life isn't one without noise. It's one where you decide which sounds are worth listening to. That's the habit of boundaries. Protecting your energy so your energy can protect you. Chapter 9. The Habit of Presence, Living in the Now. Instead of the what if. The mind loves to wander, to replay the past, to predict the future, to escape the present. But peace doesn't live in memory or imagination. Peace lives in this moment, right here, right now. And the habit of presence is learning how to stay here long enough to feel it. Your mind is a storyteller. It constantly writes narratives. What if this goes wrong? What if they leave? What if I fail again? You start living inside those stories, as if they're already true. You feel anxiety for futures that haven't happened. You carry guilt for things that can't be changed. And somewhere in between, you forget how to simply be. But here's the truth. The only moment that actually belongs to you is this one. Not yesterday. Not tomorrow. Just now. Presence is a habit, not a talent. It's something you train daily, like a muscle. And at first it will feel strange because your mind will resist it. It's used to noise, to distraction, to always looking forward or backward. But the present moment is quiet, and quiet can feel uncomfortable when you've spent years running from it. Yet, that's where healing hides, in the silence you've been avoiding. When you learn to be present, you begin to notice life again. The way the sunlight falls across your desk, the way your coffee smells before the first sip, the sound of your own breathing. Steady, patient, alive. You realize the world is not rushing as fast as your thoughts are. And in that stillness, you finally find space to breathe, because presence is not about doing more. It's about doing less, so you can feel more. Most people think being present means meditation, but it's simpler than that. It's closing your eyes while the wind touches your skin. It's listening, truly listening, when someone is speaking, without planning what to say next. It's noticing the taste of your food instead of scrolling through your phone. It's learning that moments don't have to be productive to be meaningful. Presence isn't an activity. It's awareness, and awareness is what transforms ordinary moments into sacred ones. The habit of presence also teaches you how to stop chasing time. Because when you live in the future, you're always behind. When you live in the past, you're always burdened. But when you live here, in the now, you're enough. You're complete. You're exactly where you need to be. Presence is freedom from the illusion of elsewhere. It's remembering that you don't need to wait for someday to start living. You just need to notice that you already are. Presence also rewires how you deal with pain. When you stop running from your emotions, you give them permission to move through. You stop avoiding discomfort and start understanding it. You realize that pain doesn't last forever. It only lingers when it's resisted. When you face what you feel, without judgment, without rushing, without distraction, it loses its control over you. That's the secret of presence. It doesn't erase pain. It transforms it into clarity. The habit of presence is powerful because it grounds your thoughts. It teaches you that you are not your worries. You are not your mistakes. You are not your fears. You are the one noticing them. And that distance, that awareness, is what gives you power. Because the moment you can watch your thoughts without drowning in them, you begin to master your mind. Presence isn't the absence of thought. It's the awareness of thought without attachment. Here's how you can begin this habit. Pause once a day. Set a timer or reminder that simply says, breathe. When it goes off, stop whatever you're doing. Take 3 deep breaths. Notice your surroundings. Ground yourself in the present moment. Single task. Do one thing at a time, and only that thing. Eat without your phone. Walk without music. Work without checking notifications. This small discipline builds focus and calm. Check in with your senses. Ask yourself, what do I see, hear, smell, taste, and feel right now? Your senses are anchors to the present. Use them to bring yourself back whenever your thoughts drift. End your day with gratitude. Reflect on one thing that happened today that made you feel alive. Gratitude grounds you in the goodness of now. Being present doesn't mean ignoring your goals. It means enjoying the path that leads to them. It means realizing that joy isn't waiting at the finish line. It's scattered along the way. It means finding peace in the process, not just the outcome. Because life doesn't happen in grand moments. It happens in small ones, in the laughter between friends, in quiet mornings, in moments that seem ordinary but end up being everything. Presence is also the cure for anxiety. Anxiety thrives on uncertainty, on imagining what could go wrong. But when you bring yourself back to the present, you realize that right now, in this exact breath, you're safe. And that realization, that safety in the now, is what dissolves fear, because fear only survives in imagination. It can't live in reality. And the more you practice presence, the less power fear has over you. The mind will wander. It's what it does. But every time you bring it back, you're strengthening your focus, your awareness, your calm. You're training yourself to live consciously, not reactively, and in doing so, you start to feel a kind of peace that no achievement can replace. Peace that isn't dependent on circumstances, but on awareness. Presence will also deepen your relationships, because when you truly listen to someone, you make them feel seen, and being seen is one of the deepest forms of love. When you give your attention fully, you give your energy. You give your care. You give your respect. That's what presence is. A gift of time that says, I'm here with you completely. And in a world that's constantly distracted, that presence becomes rare and unforgettable. Eventually, presence becomes your peace. You stop rushing. You stop comparing. You stop waiting for life to begin because you realize it's already happening. And you've been missing it while trying to chase what's next. Presence brings you home, to your body, to your breath, to your now. And when you finally learn to live here, you discover that the moment you were searching for has always been this one. So remember this. You don't need to escape your life to find peace. You just need to return to it, not in the past, not in the future, but in this small sacred moment, the one you're in right now. That's the habit of presence, to live fully awake, fully aware, and fully alive. Chapter 10. The Habit of Purpose, Aligning Every Action with Who You Want to Become. At some point in life, you'll realize this. Discipline, gratitude, awareness, all of it, means nothing without direction. You can be consistent, you can be strong, but if you don't know why you're doing what you do, you'll still feel lost. Purpose is what gives meaning to the motion. It's what connects your effort to something greater than the result. Because purpose is not about what you do. It's about who you're becoming. While you do it, the habit of purpose starts with a simple but uncomfortable question. Why am I here? Not here in this room, not here in this job, but here, in this life, in this moment, in this version of yourself. The world trains you to chase things. Money, titles, recognition, validation, but none of those things are purpose. They're outcomes, temporary, fleeting, hollow when pursued without meaning. Purpose is the reason behind your choices. It's the quiet truth that guides your direction when no one is watching. It's the voice that whispers, "This is who I want to be," even when it's hard. Most people search for purpose like it's a hidden treasure, as if one day they'll find it waiting under a perfect opportunity or dream job. But purpose isn't discovered. It's built. It's shaped in small moments, in daily habits, in decisions that reflect your values instead of your fears. Purpose isn't found in clarity. It's formed through consistency. You live your way into it, step by step, day by day. Purpose gives pain meaning. Without it, struggle feels random, like punishment. With it, struggle feels sacred, like preparation. Because when you know why you're fighting, you can survive how. When life gets heavy, your purpose becomes the reason you keep lifting. When you face loss, your purpose becomes the reason you keep loving. When doubt creeps in, your purpose becomes the reminder that you're not done yet. That's what makes it a habit. It anchors you when everything else shifts. But here's the thing about purpose. It's not always loud. It's not fireworks or epiphanies. Sometimes it's quiet. A pull, a direction, a subtle sense of, this feels right. Purpose often hides inside what feels natural. The things that make you feel alive. The work that doesn't drain you but fills you. The people who make you want to be better. That's where it lives. Not in perfection, but in alignment. The more you live in alignment, the more peace you feel. And peace is how you know you're on the right path. Not comfort. Peace. Because purpose doesn't promise easy days. It promises meaningful ones. It challenges you to grow, to stretch, to show up with integrity even when no one's watching. Because every action, no matter how small, is a reflection of who you are becoming, and who you are becoming is far more important than what you achieve. Purpose is not something you write down once and frame on your wall. It evolves with you. What gave your life meaning at 20 won't necessarily fulfill you at 40, and that's okay. Growth requires new meaning, and new meaning often requires letting go of old definitions. The habit of purpose is not about finding one grand mission. It's about living every moment intentionally, with awareness of why you're doing what you're doing. When your why is clear, your how becomes easier. Here's how to build this habit. Reflect on what fulfills you, not what impresses others. Ask yourself, what makes me feel most alive? You'll find that purpose rarely comes from ego. It comes from contribution, from doing what lights others while lighting you. Define your values. Write down 3 principles you want to live by. Integrity, kindness, growth. Use them as your compass. When faced with a decision, ask, does this align with who I want to be? Connect purpose to practice. Don't let purpose live only in your thoughts. Turn it into action. If your purpose is kindness, practice it daily. If it's growth, pursue learning. If it's peace, protect your boundaries. Revisit it often. Your purpose will evolve as you do. Check in every few months and ask, is this still who I am? Because purpose isn't a destination. It's a direction. One you keep refining as you walk. The most powerful people aren't the ones who know exactly what they're doing. They're the ones who know why. They're doing it. That why gives power to their presence. It gives clarity to their chaos. It gives peace to their pain. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to stay faithful to what feels aligned, because purpose isn't something you chase. It's something you choose every day through your actions. When you live without purpose, you drift. Days blur together. Achievements lose their shine. But when you live with purpose, even the smallest moments feel sacred. A conversation becomes connection. A setback becomes a lesson. A goal becomes a gift. Purpose transforms ordinary living into intentional existence. And that's what rewired minds do. They stop chasing meaning and start creating it. You'll know you've built the habit of purpose when your choices begin to feel lighter, not because life gets easier, but because every action has meaning behind it. You'll stop saying yes to what's convenient and start saying yes to what's right. You'll stop living by reaction and start living by direction. You'll stop measuring life by speed and start measuring it by alignment. And when that shift happens, everything starts to make sense. Purpose will not take away all your uncertainty, but it will teach you to move forward anyway. You'll still fall. You'll still doubt. You'll still have moments of confusion. But even in those moments, you'll have an anchor, a quiet knowing that you're not lost. You're just learning, and that awareness turns wandering into wisdom. So remember this. Your purpose isn't waiting somewhere far away. It's already within you. in your curiosity, your compassion, your courage. You don't need to search for it. You just need to listen for it. Every time you follow what feels right, every time you choose growth over comfort, every time you live with intention instead of impulse, you're living your purpose. And the more you do, the clearer it becomes. That's the habit of purpose, to live each day with meaning, to connect every small action to the bigger story of who you're becoming, and to remember that fulfillment isn't found. It's built, one intentional choice at a time. You've made it here, to the end of this audiobook. But really, this isn't an ending at all. It's a beginning, because the habits we've talked about, awareness, gratitude, discipline, reflection, letting go, consistency, positive speech, boundaries, presence, and purpose, they are not rules to memorize. They are ways to live. Each one is a doorway, and behind each door is a version of you who feels a little lighter, a little stronger, a little more alive. The truth is, your mindset isn't something you fix once. It's something you tend to daily like a garden. Some days you'll wake up inspired. Other days you'll feel tired, lost, or unsure. That's okay. Growth isn't about constant strength. It's about constant return. You return to the small habits that heal you. You return to gratitude when life feels unfair. You return to awareness when you lose your direction. You return to presence when your thoughts wander too far ahead. You return to purpose when the why begins to fade. You return, again and again, and with every return, you become more of yourself. The goal isn't perfection. It's awareness, because awareness is where transformation begins. When you become aware of your thoughts, you begin to choose them. When you become aware of your patterns, you begin to change them. When you become aware of your worth, you stop settling for less than peace. Awareness is the moment the cycle breaks. It's when reaction turns into reflection, and reflection turns into evolution. That's how rewiring happens. Not through force, but through intention. Gratitude turns what you have into enough. Discipline turns your dreams into action. Reflection turns mistakes into wisdom. Letting go turns endings into beginnings. Consistency turns small steps into transformation. Positive speech turns self-doubt into strength. Boundaries turn chaos into calm. Presence turns time into life. And purpose turns all of it into meaning. You won't master these habits overnight. You're not meant to. They're lifelong companions, quietly shaping how you think, how you respond, how you carry yourself through the world. Some days you'll forget them. Other days they'll save you, and that's okay. Because progress isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing something intentionally. If you can practice even one of these habits each day, one small act of awareness, one moment of gratitude, one pause before reacting, you'll begin to notice the shift, a subtle calmness, a quiet strength, a new kind of peace that doesn't depend on circumstance. That's how change begins. Not with noise, but with awareness. The truth is, you already have everything you need to change your life. It's not out there somewhere. It's right here. In the thoughts you choose, the habits you practice, and the way you treat yourself each day. Your mind is your most powerful tool. And when you learn how to direct it, you stop living on autopilot. You stop surviving and start living. You start waking up with intention, not anxiety. You start speaking with compassion, not criticism. You start walking toward peace, not away from it. You start becoming who you were always meant to be. Remember this. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your fears. You are your choices, and your next choice can always be different. Each day, you're offered two paths, the one that repeats your patterns, and the one that rewires them. The second path is quieter. It asks for patience, for self-awareness, for forgiveness. But if you take it, if you keep walking it, you will transform. Not all at once, but slowly, beautifully, undeniably. There will still be hard days. Days when the old habits call you back. Days when your mind feels heavy again. That's okay. That's human. But those are the days when you'll realize you've grown. Because now, you notice it. Now you catch yourself. Now you pause before reacting. And in that pause, you create space. Space for awareness. Space for peace. Space for change. That space, that quiet moment of choice, is where transformation truly begins. You don't have to be perfect to have progress. You don't have to feel ready to start. You just have to begin. One breath at a time, one thought at a time, one habit at a time. And over time, those small, consistent acts of intention will reshape how you see yourself, not as someone trying to be better, but as someone becoming better. Because rewiring your mind isn't about fixing what's broken, it's about uncovering what's whole. You're not lost. You're just learning your way back to yourself. And when you look back, you'll see that the change didn't happen in a single moment. It happened in 1,000 small ones. In every morning you got up despite the doubt. In every time you chose peace over pride. In every moment you spoke gently to yourself when you could have been harsh. That's growth. That's healing. That's rewiring. So take these habits with you, not as rules, but as reminders. Reminders that you are in control of your energy, your mindset, your reactions, your story, and that every day is a new chance to choose differently. You are not stuck. You are simply becoming. And every small shift, every moment of awareness, every choice made in alignment is proof that you are winning quietly. So take a breath. Feel this moment. You've come so far already. And the journey ahead, it's yours to create. Be patient. Be kind, be consistent, and never forget, nothing changes until you do. You've been listening to 10 positive habits that will rewire your mindset, brought to you by Bookwise Audio, where growth meets peace, and every word is a reminder that your story is still being written. Thank you for listening, and for choosing yourself today and every day after.